Welcome at the new DEPT Live Talks. Only 6 months ago, we organized DEPT Talks in the early mornings in offices around the world. But due to Corona, we had to change. This is a new digital concept where we interview people and stream it via YouTube and our websites. So less interaction with the people who watch, but you can still ask questions via the YouTube live stream or the website you're watching. I'm looking very much forward to this edition of the DEPT Talks Live. That's because our guest, who is Maarten today, he is a B2B partner manager at Just Eat Takeaway. Together with Maarten, we will talk about topics like B2B strategy and ambitions for takeaway, marketplaces, and the offering of products to suppliers to restaurants, and also the possibility for suppliers to offer their goods to the restaurants. Also, we will cover migration from the former platform towards Commercetools and dive a little bit into the technical side of that. So why choose a headless system for your new marketplace commerce solution? And just in a bit, we will dive into these details. But first, let me introduce Maarten. He already, for his entire professional career, worked in hospitality, food, beverage related industry. It started with the Dutch beer brand Grolsch as an account manager, later on for Bitfood, which is a wholesaler for restaurants. And since a couple of years now, B2B partner manager at Takeaway.
Correct.
And
before that, I even had my own business.
You had your own, yeah. I did peek on your LinkedIn. I don't know if you're talking about the wine company called Ruscello?
Yes. That's actually a side hobby right now.
Cool.
And it's just a hobby next to work, so I'm not doing that a lot of these days because I'm too busy with my day job. But in the past, I also had a restaurant, actually.
You even had a restaurant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you worked your entire career already in the food beverage industry?
Yeah, from I think 15 or 16 years old. Yeah.
And the wine company is just a hobby, a side project.
Yeah, wine is just a personal passion, and selling wine to consumers, but also business to business, and that's fun, but it's a hobby.
Do you do it? Can you buy the wine via takeaway already via the B2B platform?
Not yet, because I'm trying to keep private life from the business life.
Very wise.
Separated.
Maybe you can get a license from Commercetools then for your own private company. But
yeah, maybe in the future. Yeah.
welcome, Maarten.
Thank you for having me.
Before we dive into the world of B2B commerce, can you maybe introduce yourself and your role a little bit more at Takeaway?
Yeah. Well, like you said, I'm the partnership manager B2B at takeaway.com.
Yeah.
Officially now just eattakeaway.com. We're currently merging with our friends from Just Eat from the UK.
Yeah.
And I work for the department Partner Services, and that department is completely aimed at the relationship with our partner restaurants. So we're trying to make them more loyal, and we belong to the marketing part of Takeaway. And my team is responsible for the external offer that sellers offer on our marketplace for restaurants. And next to that, because things grew sort of away, also responsible in the past for part of this migration with other people as well. Yeah, so setting up the whole marketplace strategy and living this dream.
Yeah, I think most of the people who are watching right now will think of Takeaway as a product that you can use, digital product, and a service that you can use as a consumer. Let's be clear that you are not working for that department for business to business part. You already brought a slide to explain that a little bit better.
Yeah, well, as you can see on the slide, it's and the logo is in the middle. So we are a platform, a marketplace between consumers and restaurants. That's the main core business of our company. So we make sure orders, the demand of the consumers gets back to the restaurants and they can offer their food to the consumers. It says also on the right that the restaurant receives the order, cooks the order, and also delivers it. But nowadays we also, in some cases, take care of the logistics between the restaurant and the consumers.
You have your own delivery guys and girls who...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can actually choose to do it yourself or let us do it.
I think for most of the people who watch, this is not new. This is why I use Thuisbezorgd in the Netherlands, Takeaway in general. But then the restaurant goes to the left and then you see the suppliers in the screen. This is where you are and your team is operating, right?
Yeah, exactly. So basically we are taking a step in the supply chain. And then we're starting up this whole platform, a marketplace between restaurants and the suppliers world. So the food service, non-food service, everything that basically a restaurant can buy.
Yeah.
And the fun thing is that so we offer products in terms of ingredients, but also disposable packaging, kitchen equipment, and even services. And we're trying to get the best possible deal for our partner restaurants, which is we're part of marketing. So we're doing this for our partner restaurants, mainly.
Yeah. And you're part of marketing, which means the marketing of takeaway in general. And this is a tool which is a USP for the restaurants to join takeaway, because they can also join the general concept of takeaway. So they can also participate and buy on your B2B shop.
Exactly. And stay loyal to takeaway, of course.
Yeah. So this is one of the USPs of takeaway for restaurants compared to competitors.
Yeah, true. And in terms of competitors, you were probably thinking about the big players we see in the world, like Uber Eats and Deliveroo.
Yeah, I was indeed, or I am, yeah.
Basically, our biggest competitor is still the phone.
The phone?
Yeah. So in food delivery, still the biggest part of the world of consumers still use the phone to call a local restaurant to order their food. So whenever that changes into online behavior, we're happy. So the competition is more on basically the old traditional way of food delivery than the actual players in the market like ourselves. Yeah.
So the online part of that is still smaller than the traditional way, and the moment you motivate people to switch from traditional to online, you're already a winner because you're one of the few who offers.
Yeah. And that's also why we're still growing as a company, because the potential is still huge. Yeah. And in terms of B2B, where we're operating with this marketplace, we're operating in a market that is basically owned by a few big players in the food service market in most countries, over Europe, for example. And that's a market that is pretty much standing still in terms of innovation.
Which players should I think of then? And just name a couple of them in Europe, for example.
Well, for example, you have a big company like Transgourmet in Germany, or Selgros in Poland, or Sligo, or Hanas in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
These companies offer food, but also non-food to restaurants and to bars and hospitality industry overall.
And that's what the marketplace of takeaway is doing as well.
Exactly. So, and we're basically that they are not really innovating and doing everything in a traditional way. And by making everything digital, but also doing it with in a different angle, we're trying to open up that market a little bit and create more match between demand and offer.
And doing it different, you just mentioned it. We talked before this interview, and you already said, let's stop calling it a shop. Let's stop calling it a shop. We are more than that. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that you will do different, as you explained. But what do you mean with that? With the that transition?
Yeah, where we came from is that we had our own web shop, where we basically only sold our own items. So in terms of branded merchandise, with our logo on it, pizza boxes, can be jackets or e-bikes or whatever. We use that web shop to distribute those kind of products to our partner restaurants. Yeah. And we now opened it up for external sellers. So for example, a wholesaler that sells disposable packaging can actually sell straight to our partner restaurants. And of course, then we negotiate the best pricing conditions for our partner restaurants. Yeah. So it is a marketplace, and we are not in between the restaurant and the seller in terms of legal senses. We're also not touching money, for example. You will be actually just facilitating the platform in between. Yeah. And you mentioned products, your own merchandise, where it all started, but later on also disposable products, disposable packaging. Yeah. But also food, right, and other ingredients, and that's because this is still a shop. What makes it different than just a shop? Yeah, well, we found out when we surveyed among our partner restaurants is that at home they're consumers, right? Yeah. They order at the existing companies like bol.com or Amazon, and they're used of buying glasses or a laptop or furniture, whatever. And they get everything delivered mostly within 24 hours. It's always for free delivery. So they have a whole experience there.
Yeah.
And then they come to their work the next day, and then they get all sort of strict conditions at the food service companies. So they have strict days when they get delivered, if they get delivered, because they have to order, for example, a minimum of 400 euros.
Yeah.
And they can only choose from that company
Yeah.
in that particular case. So they have a B2B experience. And we know that they want more of a B2C experience. So we're trying to offer that into this marketplace. And in the end, we want to basically facilitate and automate their whole purchase process to help them, and so they can focus on other jobs in their entrepreneurial skills.
Which results in spending less time on these buying
Exactly.
tasks.
They spend less time and they get better quality, better prices, better delivery, etc. That saves them on the rest of their business.
Yeah. Okay. I think when I asked you what's your ambition, you said now you brought these slides. Can you take one step back and then tell us about this ambition of Just Eat?
Yeah. Overall, from a marketing perspective, from JustEatTakeaway.com, we want to become the most preferred food delivery brand for all. And in this case, on B2B, we want to be the most preferred delivery brand for all restaurants. So that's basically our vision.
Yeah. And then you said, so they can do other stuff, like empower them.
Yeah, we want to empower them, and we basically want to support them in running and growing their online food delivery business. But also, basically, that's their whole restaurant.
Yeah.
Inside and also the online part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite an ambition. You already said we sell products right now. In the future, and maybe now already, we will also do services. Maybe can you tell a little bit about those services?
So we already offer a few of them, and there can be discounts on utilities like electricity, for example.
Yeah.
There can be hospitality training or hygiene training for the employees. But we also try to make it possible, for example, for them to pass a credit check when they want to lease a delivery vehicle, like a car. Because especially starting restaurants have difficulty passing those tests, those credit checks.
Yeah.
But we know part of their online business, so we can actually help them a little bit with it. And of course, negotiate out with those kind of companies on a high level.
Yeah.
So we're making some part of the world more accessible for them.
Yeah. So really become their partner instead of just a shop. Now I get
exactly
your.
That's why we call partner services.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah, we already saw some screens on the slides of the new platform, which is the first step in this process.
As you can see here, this is how our new marketplace will look like. And I will say new because, of course, that's also why we're sitting here. We chose DEPT as a new partner to migrate to a new platform because we were still running on Magento 1.
Yeah.
And we were in desperate need of especially scalability and also be more flexible and lots of reasons to move on.
So the first specific project in reaching that ambition was migrating your former platform, Magento 1, towards, in this case, Commercetools as a new e-commerce marketplace.
And also because our ambition, our dream, as I call it, grew over the last year, basically. So we have big plans for the future, and we need a platform that can actually grow with us, and also a partner that is able to follow us and to help us forward.
We're very happy that we can partner with you on this, of course. And we will dive into the world of Commercetools and the reason why you chose that platform in just a bit. But first, maybe you already mentioned that the data is an important element in and also a USP for takeaway. You also brought some, because I asked, can you give some examples then of this? But maybe first zoom in a little bit on that aspect. Why is data so important, and why is it a USP for Just Eat Takeaway?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we are just beginning to use data, and we're doing it very careful because data is good to have, and the whole new world is all about data. But also you have to be careful with it. But that said, we do have a unique position in the world because we are a marketplace between restaurants and consumers. So we do have a lot of data from the consumer side, the B2C side. And now with this marketplace, we're also gathering data from B2B side. And that says something that has a relationship with each other. So we can actually use that. So if we combine those data points, we can actually help restaurants way more than we do right now.
So, for example, your competitors on the B2B or on wholesale, more traditional wholesale platforms do have the data from B2B as well, but they don't have it from the end user, the consumer, the one who is in the restaurant, right? That's what you mean.
Yeah, well, basically the only data they have is maybe access to some big data, but basically the data they have, what they sell to those restaurants.
Yeah, and then they don't know what the restaurant will make of those cheeses, pizzas, and
we
those
know
ingredients.
what they sell to consumers.
Yeah,
we know what kind of dishes. We know their menu card.
Yeah.
So one of the big steps we have to take is connecting ingredients, what they actually buy at the marketplace, and connect that with the menu card.
That's an example you brought as well, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the first steps we want to do is actually personalize the offer that we show on a marketplace.
Yeah.
So the offer can be based, for example, on the restaurant type or the menu card type. In this case, you see a pizza restaurant, and they can just follow their own menu and see the ingredients they use for that specific dish.
Yeah.
And then add it to the basket.
For example, in this case,
mozzarella,
because that's part of that pizza, and then they can compare various mozzarellas and buy it.
Of course, and all of these deals, of course, are negotiated so they can actually get the best deal possible in this case. Yeah.
Cool. And another example you brought?
Yeah, this is basically something for the future that we're aiming for. If we know what a restaurant is going to sell based on data, we can predict that. We know how many pizza salamis they will sell. Then we also, if we connect those ingredients, like I said, we can actually predict their whole order. So they don't have to search their ingredients anymore. We can just hand over the order. Like,
this is your
order for tomorrow.
We know what you sold on the front side of your company, so now we know what you have to buy on the back end side of the company.
And I think in the future we'll actually say we already know what you're going to sell next week, so we'll be able to predict.
And predict it even, But this only is the case if you guys know if they use the takeaway consumer app on the front side.
Yeah, and of course that's in most restaurants just a part of their revenue.
Yeah, of course.
There's a missing part of the puzzle, indeed, because we can't see what they sell inside of the restaurant when you just sit at a table and order the pizza salami. So in that case, we need information from that. So whenever a restaurant uses a POS system, a cash register system, we could actually see that. See the turnover from inside of the restaurant.
You can
of
upload
course,
this.
When a restaurant gives consent for that, because it's something you need to be careful with. But then we can actually automate their whole purchase.
So then they can enrich the data you already have, or if you don't have any, they can give their data of what they sell out, and then you can do the same trick on the backend side to do the.
Exactly. And then they even don't need to go to the marketplace anymore, because you'll send them just a push message with their order.
This is what you need tomorrow. We know this. Quite sure. Please check it, and then you can order it.
Yeah, and of course we'll go step by step. We won't be there tomorrow, but it's this is the future.
Yeah. Wow. Big plans. Maybe just take one, because that's the plan for the coming years. And the first step we already mentioned was a migration from your old platform towards the new one.
Yeah.
Can we zoom in on that project a little bit? Because that's a project
sure.
DEPT and Takeaway participated as well. What was the first step there? Why did you decide to do the migration?
Well, first of all, Magento 1 was stopped supporting the whole support on the platform.
Yeah,
and
so you had to?
Yeah, we had to, because we were about to implement the marketplace solution from Hygienic. So restaurants can actually pay directly to the external sellers, which we call vendors. So that wasn't just necessary, but also in terms of scalability. We are active in many countries. We were in 11, but I think we're now we're going to 23 or even 24 countries if we include the States. So that means we need to scale up. And IT-wise, might look very different. For example, in Israel.
Tell me more.
Well, first of all, they ride the other way around, so that's different.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So we needed to scale up, but also be flexible to use other front end, for example, or to scale up faster.
Yeah.
Make it easy just to launch a new shop in a new country.
Yeah. Okay. And how did this process look like from like the first idea that you needed to do migration up until now when you're going live now, right? You did go live, but some countries still need to go.
We launched the first soft launch in one country, which is just a web shop, not a marketplace yet. But we're about to roll out the next countries in the next few weeks. Yeah. But the project is the whole shop and marketplace was a project, so it was also part of a project team. So by that time, we also decided to create a whole new team around it, which we call the e-commerce team.
Yeah.
And when we set that up, we were setting it up, and then we also had to find a partner, and in this case, it was DEPT. So we had people from the project team moving over. We were also hiring people for the e-com team.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of stress time because we were not up to speed in terms of FTE. We're still not, but we need to grow, and we're still in the middle of the process.
Yeah.
So we have now basically an e-com product manager that has a product owner, and now he's actually busy creating that whole team. And on the other side, we have the whole IT team, basically that's DEPT.
Yeah.
And then we all, like this sheet says, all kind of stakeholders internally and externally.
Yeah.
But this is something that is still ongoing. And
so a couple of months back, this looked totally different. Maybe this wasn't even there yet.
We didn't even have a product IT team.
So the start of a new project was creating a new team as well with internal and external parties. Yeah.
And we needed to do it fast. So there was a little bit of stress and tension on it.
Yeah.
But,
And so you went selected a partner, but then you also need the technology. There's also a step in the process.
Yeah, what we did is that, of course, we written the whole case, and then we had different parties coming over to pitch.
Yeah.
And then everybody had also to present their technical platform behind it. Yeah. And in some cases, they came with 1, 2, or 3 options. And I think that also came with 2 options, actually. And that was the thing that was very difficult for us to decide at that moment, because we didn't have the team and the experts internally available yet. So we also got demo accounts that can actually look into different systems, how it looked like, how it would work. We had a whole list of requirements, of course, and there were just sessions with DEPT of what we could use and how and what would be the best fit. And in the end, we basically all decided for Commercetools.
Can you tell us very briefly why you, in the end, choose for Commercetools? Because I think, first of all, it's a headless system that makes it unique but different from maybe others. And it was quite complex to compare all the options and to put it on the feature list that you guys had. Can you tell us a little bit more about the selection of Commercetools?
Well, first of all, it was what I mentioned before, is the scalability. Yeah. It's headless and it's all API driven. And our IT landscape is pretty extensive. I'm not a tech guy, but for me, it's always a puzzle how that looks like in the picture. So we have to be able to connect several systems to each other and also be flexible enough to remove one and replace it for another in the future. So that's one of the reasons that we chose for Commercetools. Yeah. And the flexibility, because it's headless, we can actually choose, for example, for Israel, different front end because it's so different. And we can actually just add a front end, for example, for an app. Whenever a new device comes on the market, we can actually easily adapt to that. So it's more flexible in the way we're still growing with this marketplace. They support our growth with that. Yeah. That's very good to do. And all the API technology is it makes stuff easy to connect basically.
Yeah, and you already said there's a technical landscape where we need to connect with various sources. It's very complex, but you also try to make it simple in this sheet.
Yeah, I didn't make that, to be honest. Well, first of all, if you look at external already, then we have the logistical API, before we had just one logistic company taking care of our own products. But because we're moving to so many countries, we're getting more local warehouses of the same company, but also different companies that are already active in a new Just Eat company that is now coming over to our company.
So the moment you bought new companies, they brought their own logistic departments or companies with them?
Yeah, well, we're merging with them. That's important to know. So that's also why we also have to discuss, are we using the existing one? Is there a contract there? And if it's there, and it's running okay, then we'll use that company.
Yeah.
And then that might be another company, another system. So
here it looks like one connection, but in real life...
Yeah, the logistical API makes it possible to connect with different kind of logistic companies. So that's very, it's good to have. Then we have a vendor portal. So every seller can actually log into their account to manage their orders, but also manage their products, of course.
Yeah.
And that's a standalone feature right now. And we surely want to update that completely in the future. So we already know that we have to connect it now, but replace it for another in the future.
So the vendor portal, the technology behind it, the product will be updated?
Yeah. So in this case, it's there, but it's also because it's headless, we can just easily replace it in the future. Yeah, that makes it perfect.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Then we also will have vendors that want to connect over API instead of manually. So that's the case at the moment. So that's something that is on the roadmap, I think, this year.
And then it gets connected to the system at the vendor in-house, developed in-house, and not in your front-end vendor portal.
Yes, yeah, true, yeah. And then, of course, internally at Just Eat Takeaway.com, we also have a restaurant portal where restaurants can see their consumer orders and can see their invoices. And that also links to our marketplace again. So that's one. We have our internal TMS, and TMS is basically where everything happens, where everything lives, our orders between restaurants, consumers. That's also where that's something where we authenticate the login, for example, to make sure it's a part of the restaurant. Yeah, so and its own system, so it's always difficult to connect with other systems.
This was in place already?
That was already in place.
And you connect to this one as well?
Yeah. And we can't live without that, so...
no, I imagine.
Yeah. And then there's new CRM Salesforce coming, but also Salesforce Marketing Cloud for email automation, like abandoned cart, emails, that kind of stuff. That's also something else. So it's all connected to each other from different elements.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This makes sense. You also, I also understood that you have the new option of Market Pay, which is a new payment solution. And it will be supported in the new platform and the marketplace. What is that exactly, and why did you choose for Market Pay and not to be in the middle?
Yeah, good question. Because the way marketplaces now in the world take care of payments is very different. It's actually changing at the moment. If you look at a pure marketplace, you're only facilitating the platform between the sellers and the buyers.
Let's take an example, eBay.
Yes, and then the question is, are you touching that money?
Yeah.
Because if you're only facilitating the platform, you don't want to be in between legally, you don't want to touch the money.
Yeah.
So in this case, also the payment goes to a bank account, a third bank account of Adyen. And there the order can be at different sellers. So there is a split payment, and it goes directly to the sellers.
So as a restaurant, sorry?
Instead of us.
Yeah. So as a restaurant, I pay the total amount, and in the background, this is the Market Pay. Yeah. The money gets transferred to the mozzarella company, to the pizza company, to the all the products that you bought.
Because as a restaurant, you don't want to buy. You don't want to pay different amounts to every party that's in the order, because you want to shop at one place and also pay in one place.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the consumer mindset that you bring to the B2B world, an example of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And another step we're taking in that is that we will, at the moment, we are settling invoices with our own articles. So we sell branded pizza boxes. It's 1 week later, it's settled with the invoice the restaurant has with us for the consumer orders. And that's something we want to use in the future as well. So it actually has like sort of a purchase credit.
I think you went very fast, so you have to You do not only spend money at takeaway as a restaurant, you also earn money on the platform because of the front of the consumer app, right? That's leveraging.
To easily explain it, so whenever you buy a pizza, Mario, you pay with, for example, in the Netherlands with Ideal. It goes to takeaway.com, and then on a weekly basis we pay out the restaurant with all the orders. And we use then, if they during that week buy something in our marketplace, then we can actually settle that with that invoice. So they don't have to pay at the moment they order.
Yeah.
And that's something we want to develop more in the future as well.
So if a restaurant then fully adopts this concept, it doesn't have much of a cash flow, and in the end there will be some cash left over for them, and takeaway will pay out some. Yeah. That's the ideal world in your
Yeah, exactly. So that means less work on purchasing as well, but also less accounting, and so also cheaper cost.
Yeah, cool. And then you have this 3 horizons model. When you zoom out a little bit from this project again, you said we don't want to become a web shop, but we want to change into something else. Mm-hmm. What are the and this is also almost the closing questions before we go to the questions from people who view this stream. Can you take us towards that vision, towards that future that you have? Which this is the first project you explained, but then you wanted to go to to the second and the third horizon as well. Yeah. So basically, we're sort of at the edge of the second horizon already, because we just are migrating from a web shop to a marketplace. Yeah. And during that phase, so the second horizon is that we take steps with the data, so personalizing, but then predicting, going further and further. So we actually are growing into a complete community, and that's also going to be very important for restaurants that are not connected with us. Because imagine if you want to start a restaurant, there's just one community where you go to find everything you need. Yeah, we can actually advise you on where to start, what the perfect menu card will be. We can advise you on prices, on ingredients, recipes, everything. First thing you said, where to start? Like geographically, you mean where to start? Yeah, because you have that data. Yeah. You can see in which neighborhood of the city pizza is popular, and there is no pizza restaurant yet. Or our account managers that speak to restaurants on a daily basis already give advice on which zip codes they should use for delivery. They look at the menu cards, on their delivery fee, for example, that kind of stuff. So they're already giving advice on that level, and we're using data to do so. But it's something that we're just starting to use, and we'll just need to get better and better to basically reach that new horizon. And will there be any other services in that offer as well? Yeah, well, I can imagine if we are able to advise on that level, to predict on that level, we could actually make it possible for them to have a starting loan directly online. Which you facilitate? Or a bank, in this case, probably. But then we can actually help on sharing data with consent, again, to make sure the bank has less risk. So then you actually build the business case for a restaurant owner to start a restaurant in a certain place with a certain menu, and based on your data, the bank knows almost for sure that it will be successful. To help them starting up their business and make sure they're successful from the beginning. Yeah. Cool. That sounds good. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, and also something that if they have already a restaurant and they start buying at a marketplace, so they, for example, buy their pizza ingredients. That's something that we plan to do as well, to open it up, because then we can continuously show what we can do for restaurants if you actually connect to our consumer network. Yeah. So and then you come back to the marketing role that it already had. Yes, because then we're trying to convince restaurants to join takeaway.com. Yeah. So then we're sending leads to our sales department. Yeah. So from if I summarize this correctly, currently, most of the restaurants join because of the consumer app, and then migrate and use the marketplace for the B2B platform as well. Yeah. But in the future, maybe it will be the other way around as well. Yeah. So, and then the consumer app, the front end of your company, will just be a marketing tool for the B2B solution. Exactly. Yeah. And just like a all round circle. Yeah. And then you get more of the chain of this restaurant and beverage. Yeah. Cool. Okay, that's very interesting. Let's go to some of the questions we got. I think Wouter asked quite relevant questions about marketplaces, because how do you prevent restaurants eventually bypassing your marketplace and go directly to the vendor? What is the advantage of doing this via your marketplace?
Yeah, it's a good question. But imagine that we have thousands of restaurants around the world. So whenever we negotiate a deal, that will become stronger and stronger. There will already be a price and a condition that a restaurant alone will never be able to get. So there's no point in moving away from our marketplace in future for that. That's one of those things. And next to it, if it needs to be so beneficial, they don't want to move, basically. And now everybody buys at a wholesaler.
Yeah.
But what if you can just buy directly from the producer, from the big A brand?
That's the dream.
That's not a dream. That's something that's going to happen on short term.
That's something you're going to happen on short term, even. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying two or even three things. You say we have the data, so we can help the person the restaurant who buys at our place, and that's the reason why we will not go towards the vendor.
Yeah.
Second is the experience of buying is just as good as a consumer website, and therefore you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And the third thing is buying directly. You do already buy directly, only you use our platform.
Yeah, and then by buying directly and using, because that restaurant is not the only one. So we're basically combining the whole purchase power, combining all the restaurants together, making sure the deal is good. And there's actually competition going on product level between different sellers. That's a marketplace. So that's also something that prices will drop up to a certain level that is good.
So you promise lowest prices with this method?
Yeah, we're not there yet, but that's something that we're trying to do. But it's not only on price, because the whole experience needs to offer ease and cost saving as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's that answers the questions, Wouter's question in this case. Carolina. Or Carolina, I don't know. I hope I pronounce your name in the right way. Has a question about the difference in. So you told about the biggest competitor is the phone, and digital is not that big yet. What is the difference in this balance between Europe and in this case the US?
Oh, I don't know exactly, to be honest. Because I don't know a lot about the US. First of all. I think it's moving for sure. So it's probably tilting to the way that's coming more online. And I know that certain companies are ahead of other countries. So in the Netherlands, you see that the adoption was there very soon.
Yeah.
But also in the UK.
Okay.
We know that consumers in the UK buy way more often online for food delivery than in other countries, for example. And I think these two countries are ahead of the rest of the world, but I'm not sure about the US.
No. Cool. Okay, we will. We don't know yet. Mohamed asked a question about the brand, which is something we maybe did not cover that much during this talk. The B2C brand, Takeaway, Lieferando in Germany, Thuisbezorgd in the Netherlands, Just Eat in the UK, is already a big brand name for consumers. How will you, from a B2B brand, differentiate from that it makes sense to restaurants that you have a different brand, that it's a different part of the organization?
Well, that's something that we are discussing at the moment, to be honest, because now we're just offering it to our existing partner restaurants, and they know us already. So they know our brand, and we tell them what we do, we educate them. So that's something that they learn as soon as they join. That might be a different situation if we open it up completely. So that's something that we're discussing at the moment. And that's something that basically my marketing partners have to find out. My colleagues.
You will support them, but it's their.
Of course. No, it's something that we're discussing, and it's a very interesting topic. Yeah.
Now, if Mohamed
has any ideas, then let me know.
Okay, you can get in touch with Maarten then, Mohamed. And another question, Alex. He's very much looking forward to see the end result. Thanks for the talk. He asked if there is a recording available afterwards.
You can answer that.
And I can answer this question. The recording of this talk will be available on YouTube, on the DEPT channel. So that's where you can take a look, Alex, when you have the time later on. And another question just came in from Wouter again. This is the final question we will cover today. Thank you, Wouter. What is currently the distinction in volume between food and non-food on the marketplace? And do you see this change going forward? And maybe to give the context, you said it started mainly with non-food, and now food is added to the platform. And
it's different per country, and it's also because of logistics. In the Netherlands, we set up a logistics service together with Leenmenken, a third party that we're partnering up with on food logistics, and that's very difficult in other countries for now. We hope to do it in every country in the future, but that basically makes it possible to offer food, so frozen and chilled food, to be sent to restaurants in small amounts because we don't do minimum order values. And we need to offer free shipping all the time. So that's also something that's very interesting.
And that makes it difficult, right? The small amounts and the free shipping, especially the combination.
Yeah, and then also because it comes from different sellers.
Yeah.
So we have sellers that have their stuff on their articles on stock in that place, and we have sellers that actually deliver their food orders for that day for all restaurants.
Yeah.
And it comes through a cross-docking station, and then it's in the last mile delivery, it gets to the restaurant, live tracking, everything, so it's a consumer experience. And that's why food in the Netherlands is way ahead of non-food at the moment. But in other countries, we see that it's still lacking because of logistics.
Yeah.
It's more difficult than non-food. So in every country, you see non-food first, and of course, a lot of disposable packaging, because it has a lot to do with food delivery.
Yeah.
And then later on, the food comes in.
So first they think of the disposable packaging because it also ties into the brand and they're familiar with. And then later on they experience, especially when the logistic is in place, which is the case in the Netherlands, hopefully later in other countries as well, they will see that they can also buy their ingredients in the food, drinks, beverages at the marketplace.
And that's also something we're trying to consolidate for all the restaurants, that they can actually get one delivery in for all the orders.
Yeah, cool. I think this answers the question pretty extensively. Thank you so much for your time, Maarten.
Thank you.
We have to wrap up this digital talk, this DEPT talk. And you can watch the stream back on YouTube, as I just said. Thanks for watching, and I hope you can tune in next time as well. Bye.